Good morning. I'm Tom Guerra from CBIA, and today's webinar is designed to help give you an overview on the financing options available through DECD, with a special concentration on their very successful Express loan program. Our panelists today are DECD Commissioner Catherine Smith, who will lead us through the program, and representatives from a couple of CBIA member companies, Cindy Gondex, who is principal of the ACT Group, and Robert Friedland, Principal and CEO of Proton On-Site. Following the Commissioner's presentation, Cindy and Rob will discuss how their companies have benefited from DECD's programs in a case study format. I'll be moderating today's webinar, and as we go through the presentation, I'd really like to encourage all of the attendees to get us your questions. How you do that is in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a little Q&A block there. You type them into the Q&A block, and then I will get them to the presenters throughout the presentation. Also, just want to give you a heads up, in a day or so, CBIA will post the webinar at our website, cbi.com, in the event that you'd like to view it again or pass it on to a constituent. I think you're going to find today's presentation to be very interesting. And with that being said, I'd like to now turn it over to Catherine Smith, who will give you an overview of DECD and then cover their loan programs. Commissioner?
Thank you very much, Tom, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you. I hope everyone's in a nice, warm place.
Yes.
Surviving this crazy bout of weather we've had, this vortex that's attacked us. You know what? Exactly what you've suggested is what I want to get done today. I want to talk a little bit about the vision the state has and the strategy we have for getting there, and then really get into the basics of some of these programs, which I think can be very, very helpful. So as you can see from the slide I've got up right now, the vision for Connecticut is to be amongst the top quartile states in economic growth. And to get there, of course, we know we need to make some changes. We need to accelerate growth in many areas, and we need to make our state an even more friendly business environment. So we'll talk a little bit about the number of things that we're doing through the missions that we have in order to make that happen. You know, having come out of the private sector myself, and 30 years in that sector and running different companies, I certainly understood when I came in that we needed to create clear objectives that we could tie our performance to and help our employees, not only within DECD, but in the sister organizations we work with around the state, understand how their work fit in with our overall goals and what the specific areas were we wanted to concentrate on in order to make a difference and make a change as rapidly as possible. So as you see on the slide that's up right now, retaining and growing the existing base of jobs is our number one objective, and retaining and growing the existing business base here is equally important and obviously very much tied to that. In order to be able to do that, we know we need to help foster innovation. We need to develop and enrich our talent pool, which is really one of the number one reasons companies choose to locate in Connecticut. We need to make sure that all those people that work in these companies have a great place to live, there's affordable and workforce-based housing here, and there's communities in which people do want to live based on art, culture, and all the other things that make sense for people's decisions about where they want to live and work. So all of those are the most important elements of our strategic framework. But we also took a look at kind of what are we working with here in the way of clusters inside of the state. We got a little help from some outsiders, looked at a number of different benchmarks amongst other states, and really tried to focus in on some of the areas we think have the greatest opportunities for growth in the state, building again upon the strengths in financial services and insurance, our healthcare, life sciences, manufacturing, which has been, of course, a huge foundation for Connecticut for many years. And people forget about tourism, but it is a very important $11 billion part of our economy. We're also looking at emerging opportunities like digital media, like green technology, and like IT innovation. So these are areas that we see as really being the accelerators for future long-term growth in the state. But having said that, we certainly recognize that our mainstream businesses, the main street businesses, if you will, that operate around the state are very, very important as the backbone of our economy and support all of the different clusters that I've just mentioned. So we're going to continue to invest in those small businesses, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. As you can see from the slide that's up right now, each of these sectors I just mentioned does bring a lot of strength to the state and does build upon really large and substantial positions that the state has, not just relative to other states, but often relative to different countries around the world. And so we really feel that these are the right areas for us to stay focused on and that we are investing in them, as you can see. One area I didn't mention on the last slide, but you can see it down second to last bullet, is really the exports. And we know that small business in particular is interested in getting into the export market to be able to work in some of the faster growing economies around the planet. And we are, of course, trying to support them as well. And we can talk a little bit about that perhaps in Q&A. So many things underway. But today we really wanted to focus in on some of the areas that will impact particularly growing businesses here in the state of Connecticut. Before I get to the Small Business Express, I did want to take just a moment to talk about what we're doing to make Connecticut a more business-friendly state in which these companies can operate. I mentioned before the importance of talent, and I think what we're trying to do in this, under Governor Malloy's leadership, is really invest in the talent generation, if you will, for the future. So $1 billion investment at UConn. I think you'll see more in our community colleges and technical schools as well, the skill sets that are going to be needed by the companies that choose to work here in the state. This is a very big part of what the governor's trying to get done, and I think you can see that in where the dollars are being spent. We also recognize that energy and the cost of energy in the state is a bit higher than we'd like it to be. And therefore, under Dan Eske's leadership and with the support of what we're now calling the Green Bank, which is the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority, or CEFIA, we're looking at ways to help businesses improve their efficiency, to help them bring down the cost of doing business here in the state. And even more important, we've developed a long-term comprehensive energy strategy that will help reduce the overall cost of access to energy, be that electricity or fuel for heating across the state. And of course, this is extremely important for a number of the manufacturing firms that are here, but it's also important for other businesses as well. So a lot of work is being done on this, and I think we're starting to see some of the positive impacts of the cost of energy coming down. The last two bullets are also equally important. When I came into office, the governor and I took a great tour around the state. We met with over 500 businesses and asked them what we could do kind of in our own shop, if you will, to make this state an easier place with whom to do business. And really at the request of those businesses, we have introduced lean into the state and have put a big effort over the last couple of years with over 1,000 of our employees now being trained in lean techniques and Kaizen events, and having had hundreds of Kaizen events take place around the organization. I can tell you here at DECD we've done 11 events ourselves, 2 on the Small Business Express, which you'll hear us talk about in a few minutes, to make sure that we are being more responsive and more timely with our constituents, that we're giving them answers more quickly, and that we're getting our work done in a more efficient way so we can focus on the key strategic issues that you need us to be paying attention to. So a lot of good work has been done there, and we're happy to share other examples if that's helpful. And finally, I just met yesterday with Dan Eske and Jim Redeker. We meet on a monthly basis to talk not just about those larger overarching strategy issues, but to make sure that individual issues like how the Metro North is working, issues on the highways, those kinds of issues are being handled in an expeditious way across the organization. So we are very committed to enhancing transportation and making sure that the transportation we do support here in the state works well for the business community. So those are just a few examples of some of the business areas that we're focused on to make the state more friendly. But as promised, really what we want to talk today is very specifically what we're doing to help small business grow and expand. And the reason this is so important is small businesses do create most of the new jobs, both here in Connecticut but across the country. So it's extremely important that we pay attention to that sector, that we do whatever we can to support the growth of those businesses. Particularly important, of course, as well, given that the Great Recession, which we're now 5 years past, but still feels very raw and new for many companies, that we help them get access to capital, to technology and other things that can help them really come out of what has been a very difficult economic period. So the Small Business Express program is the core part of that, and we'll come to the details of that in 1 second. But I wanted to also just mention these other financing and guidance areas that we can provide for small business. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on that today, but you will see a little bit of information, and we just want to make sure people are aware that if you call our offices, we can direct you to people that can help with technical assistance, be that research at UConn or be that, trying to figure out how to find a good marketing firm to help you grow, site selection, all kinds of different things there. So in addition to the financing tools and the business climate that we discussed earlier, these kinds of guidance skill sets are available through either DECD, the Small Business Development Center, CBIA. We all have access to a lot of different areas that can help on that technical side. And I'm not going to go through this list, but it's, as you can see, a lot of different areas from, concept, which is great at the process improvement work, to SEPIA, we mentioned before, and how to make your organization more energy efficient, to things like the Procurement Technical Assistance Program, which is really about export assistance. So lots of different areas, and again, we just want to make sure people know those are available. But the financial assistance has really been a very important part of what we've done in the last couple of years through the Small Business Express. And what we're trying to do there is create some opportunities for companies to access credit and capital that they've had trouble accessing through traditional banking channels. I also have on here, and it's an important program, the Subsidized Training and Employment Program, or STEP UP. This is a program that's actually administered by the Department of Labor. And it is a great program for companies that need to bring on staff but maybe don't have the resources to do the training or the other kind of testing out of an employee during the first few months. This program provides up to 6 months of subsidy and is a great way for companies to, try out or bring on or train, upgrade an individual as they come into an employment situation. It actually formally ran out at the end of the year, but I believe there will be action in the legislature to extend the program. Even today, though, you can access the program for veterans who you might want to employ. So a great opportunity for getting some help in that area. Finally, the Small Business Express program, which is really what I wanted to spend the most time on today. This is a program that was established by the special session that the legislature did a couple years ago to really focus on how the state could recover. It was promised the first year, and the $100 million that the legislature added last year, there's over $200 million available through matching grants and loans. And so far, as you can see, we funded over 900, actually it's almost 1,000 now, it's 972 businesses, and we have funded about $130 million of that $200 million that's available. So there's plenty of room left for additional expansion.
Now, would the majority of those, Commissioner, be grants or loans?
It's actually pretty evenly balanced. It's probably a third grants and about 2/3 loans between the two different types of loans that we have. And I think I'll give you an answer in just a second about exactly how that works. But let me go through some of the details of the program, and then we can talk about the specific questions people might have.
Great. And before you proceed, I just wanted to let our attendees know. Normally, we have you type in your questions in the Q&A. but there appears to be an issue with Q&A, so if you have questions, please type them into the chat box, which is in the middle right side of your page. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. That's good counsel. Okay, so the slide that's up right now talks about who qualifies for Small Business Express. These are statutory issues for us, so there's not a lot of flexibility. The business must have been up and running in Connecticut, meaning it got registered with the Secretary of State's office, needs to be in business for at least 1 year. So it can be a young company, but at least has to be 1 year old. It can employ no more than 100 employees, and it has to be in good standing, particularly with the Department of Revenue Services on its tax payments, but also with other state agencies that they might be doing business with. To be honest with you, this is really the only criteria that we have. Beyond that, we're really looking at each business individually to see what their business plan is and really what they want to get accomplished. As I mentioned, there's really 3 ways to access the funding: 1 grant and then 2 different types of loans. So let's start with the grant. The grant, as you can see from the slide that's up right now, can be anywhere from $10,000 up to a maximum of $100,000. Obviously, because it's called a matching grant, we expect the company to come up with cash on the other side that matches dollar for dollar what the state is putting up. And so that's going to be an important element for that. But we really see this as a great opportunity for companies to use this matching money to help grow their organization. And as you can see from the uses that are allowed, it's focused on job creation, but we understand that to grow jobs, oftentimes companies need to make capital improvements. They might need purchase of inventory or carrying costs. They might need to acquire new machinery and equipment. And obviously, in many cases, our companies are expanding into new space as well, so doing leasehold improvements or construction of one variety or another is a necessity for the matching grant. So all of those uses are permitted, and again, we've given out a lot of money for these grants, and I think they've been put to good use. Obviously, the nice thing about a grant is once we give you the money, it is your money, unless you don't abide by some of the job creation standards that you've agreed to do. And we can come back and talk about what the penalties are if you are able to do what you said you were going to do. The next one is the 2 loan programs. One is about job creation and has a forgiveness feature, and one is really more like a line of credit. So the incentive loan is a loan size, again, up to $300,000 here, so you can actually get quite a good substantial amount of funding from this. We do have an interest rate that goes from anywhere from 0 to 4%, depending upon what the company can support. The term is anywhere up to 10 years, and again, this may be eligible for forgiveness, and the forgiveness is pretty much always dependent upon the number of jobs that have been created versus how many jobs the company said they would create. So assuming a company does what they say they do, they might indicate, for example, they're going to create 5 new jobs, and they create the 5 new jobs, oftentimes a portion, up to 50% of the loan, will be forgiven. Again, the uses here are fairly broad: machinery, equipment, leasehold improvements, working capital, and the funding of that expansion for the business. And then the last loan is called the revolving loan, and again, it's a little bit smaller in size. It's up to $100,000, same interest rate, same terms. And this is, again, mostly for companies that aren't necessarily in an expansion mode, but clearly see the opportunities they have for upgrading their business and trying to keep up with demand. Maybe they're a seasonal business that has some issues keeping up with their payroll, for example, in off periods. These are loans to help them weather through some of those areas and make sure that they can, continue to be an effective business going forward. So we've done, again, about a third of our participation, I believe, is in this kind of a loan. I would also add that on occasion we do couple some of these loans together, or a loan and a grant together, so that a company can take advantage of more than one of these programs at once. And by the way, the company is also welcome to take advantage of more than the Small Business Express program, but couple that with, for example, a loan to help them make their operation more energy efficient, those kinds of things. So we try to make sure we're putting together for each company the appropriate type of financing in order to get what they need. We called this the Small Business Express. We did it purposefully because we wanted to send a signal to people that this is intended to be a quick, easy process, and particularly the quickness is really derived by how fast the company moves and how much information they give us and when. It's a one-page application with some supporting documents that you can see there. The business plan doesn't need to be a 20-page document. We're really looking for a page or two that describes what the funds will be used for and how the company plans to grow over time. We do ask for a number of financial statements. You can see there are project financing, cash flow, audited financial statements, so we pay back if it's a loan, and how much they can afford in terms of their cash flow and the ability to pay the interest rate. We also, of course, just want to make sure we understand where the funding is going, what kinds of jobs will be created, and again, we will be checking to make sure that the company is in good standing with DRS and other agencies it might be in business with already. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Once we have a complete application, we go through it very quickly, and within a couple weeks, we typically get back to the company with any questions, comments. Sometimes we give them a yes right up front, we're ready to go. Sometimes we say, hey, we need more information in these following areas where we have questions. But we try to make sure that the company is hearing from us on a regular basis. There's project managers associated with each of the loans, and they can be the point of contact for the company to make sure that they can get access to information and understand where the application stands in our process. So that is really a wrap-up on where we are with the program. And Tom, I'm going to turn it back to you at this point to either take questions or move on to our case study.
Sure thing. Thank you, Commissioner. And we did have one question for you, and that was from an attendee asking, what is the ratio of jobs created to dollars awarded in a grant?
There's no set number on that. I would say, what we do is look at, again, the ability of the company to pay, to understand what their business plan is. Some companies are hiring people, a lot more money per job than others, so it may vary slightly. But Sheila Hummel is sitting with me right here, and I'd ask her to add anything she'd like to my answer. But I guess what I'm saying is it's not a cookie-cutter answer. It really depends based on where the company is, what kinds of payroll they have, and that kind of thing.
The only thing I would like to add is we do look at the salary levels of the jobs being created. So if a company comes in and they want a $100,000 grant, and they're only creating 2 jobs, let's say $20,000 jobs, they might only be eligible for like $25,000 to $30,000. So we look at the skill level needed for the job, and we do look at salary level too.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Sheila. And we'll be displaying Sheila's contact information in a couple minutes, so you can get in touch with her with specific inquiries or loan requests. The next part of our webinar will feature 2 CBIA member companies who have benefited from DECD loan and grants. And right now I'd like to ask Cindy Gondek to share with us her experience with DECD regarding the financing they were able to secure through the Express program. Cindy?
Thanks, Catherine. Yes, my name is Cindy Gondek. I'm a principal of ACT Group, an advanced copy technologies company. ACT Group was established in 1974, and we currently have 33 employees. Our services include office equipment, managed print services, document solutions, customer support, supply service, and our newest addition of 3D equipment and 3D scanning equipment and services. After researching this technology over 2 years ago, we had decided to get into the 3D arena. Last year, we received a grant and a loan from the DECD to help subsidize this new venture. This investment was substantial in inventory, skilled personnel, and training, and it would have been very difficult to be where we are today without the help and support we received from the DECD. We are now the top 3D dealer 3D dealer in New England with customers ranging from small manufacturers to Reebok, Pratt Whitney, and Stanley Works. Our on-staff physics engineer and team have collaborated with UConn and Connecticut Innovations on education and being a resource center to this ever-changing and expanding industry. We would like to thank the DECD.
That's great. Thank you very much, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy, and we're delighted that these dollars have helped you grow the business. It's terrific news.
Yeah, tremendously. Thank you, Catherine.
Great, and I'd like to remind our attendees to feel free to type their questions in the chat box. Next, we'll hear from Robert Friedland, who's President and CEO of Proton Onsite. Rob?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Catherine. Good morning, everyone. So Proton Onsite is a manufacturer in Wallingford, Connecticut. We've been in business since 1996. We currently employ 79 employees. That's 10 more than we have employed this time last year, so we grew about 14% last year. And are planning to add another 15 employees this year. So we're growing. We are doing manufacturing. We build equipment for two basic markets, one for industrial/laboratory markets where we build equipment that makes hydrogen from water or makes nitrogen from air for a variety of reasons. And we're also heavily involved in the emerging clean tech industry as it relates to potential fuel cell vehicles, renewable energy storage, and other modes of clean tech that are rapidly approaching, in our opinion, as where we stand right now. So last year was a critical year for us where we launched a new laboratory product line, and we applied for and received a $100,000 matching grant to help with capital equipment associated with that line rollout. So we said that we needed for that line, which DECD contributed $100,000 of that, and it is now in full launch and being sold globally all over the world. So we're very bullish on how that is going to continue to grow for us and really help the company move forward. I also wanted to mention that there are two other programs that we're sort of buried within the slide or within some of the other bullets that we've taken advantage of that I think are very important for small business. One being there's an internship program where when you hire interns, the state can help you with some of the cost of those interns from engineering schools particularly or other positions. And we took advantage of that last year, bringing 2 interns on as we look to utilize internships to help us with our employment pipeline. We find it's a very good way for them and a very good way for us. And this program helps us expand the number of interns that we could bring in, and that worked well for us last year. And then lastly, there's a SBIR matching program. The SBIR program is the Small Business Innovative Research Grant Program administered by the federal government. And a company needs to apply to a very competitive federal program to win those grants. When you do win them, then the state has created a program where you can get a phase 1 on that may be $75,000 or $100,000. The state will match maybe $15,000 to $25,000 depending on the circumstances. And again, that additional supplemental funding can really help create this phase 1, improve the phase 1 where you can get a phase 2 from the federal government, which is often close to $1 million. So those are really good programs for technology companies that take advantage of those things, and that is another part of the assistance program that we've taken advantage of.
Great. Thanks so much, Rob.
Hey, Tom, can I just add, I'm glad Rob brought that up, and it's great to see you over the phone, Rob, but, there are a number of other programs we haven't discussed today in a lot of detail that are available through Connecticut Innovations, through the Department of Labor, and even more here at DECD. So I'm glad you brought up those. Those are great ones, Rob. Thank you.
Great. Next slide, please. We did have some questions for the Commissioner, and that is there a breakdown, it's sort of an industry-related question, is there a breakdown of where the grants are allocated in terms of manufacturing, technology, environmental?
So we haven't looked at it by grant versus loan, but we have looked at it by the entire Express project. And, remarkably to me, I think the largest area of usage, or one of the largest, has been in manufacturing. It's about 20% of the loans and grants we give have been in manufacturing. And frankly, that's about twice what manufacturing represents in the state total employment, if you will. So that's been a very large segment of what has been used. We've also seen some in IT and healthcare, and we've seen a number in sort of what I'm going to call Main Street retail-oriented businesses as well. So I think it's been quite a diverse set of organizations and businesses, and frankly on a geographic basis as well. I'm pleased to say that companies from all the nooks and crannies of the state have really taken advantage of the program. There's some areas we'd like to see even more opportunity for Small Business Express, but I'm really pleased that so many folks from all around the state have been able to take advantage of it.
Great, thank you. Next question is, can you use a bank loan as the matching dollars for a grant?
And the answer is
yes, you can. Yep.
Yes, you can. And actually, one of the things we've been trying to do with Small Business Express is to help the banks and stimulate them a bit, if you will, because particularly when we started the program, now 2+ years ago, the banks were in lockdown in many cases for their existing base because it was simply, the rules internally for them had changed and they were having trouble increasing their exposure to some of these folks when they were starting to be ready to grow because the revenue might have slipped 20, 30%, et cetera. So we've been finding that the banks have actually been very supportive of this. They find that it does allow them to supplement some of the work they've done with their existing client base. They've started to step up more often with lines of credit, with matching the grants, and even in some cases matching the loans. So we think this has been a good program, and we really encourage all applicants to work directly with their bank and with DECD so we're all aware of and in the same loop on kind of what their financial structure looks like and making sure that they're not overcommitting in any way, shape, or form.
Great, and this slide has the contact information if somebody has questions about a DECD loan or grant or to apply.
Right. If you go out to our website, DECD.org, which isn't on there, but if you go out to DECD.org, you can see the very large box in the middle of the page. It says Small Business Express. If you click on that, you can get access to the application and all of the requirements that we've discussed. And Sheila is here with me right now, and she's happy to take your phone calls or direct emails as well.
Phone calls, emails. Emails are good too.
You feel free to call as well.
Great, that looks like it wraps up our questions. So if there are no more questions, I'd like to pass on my thanks to Commissioner Smith, Sheila Hummel, and Chris McCardle of DECD, who was instrumental in helping pull this thing together, as well as Cindy Gondek and Robert Friedland. Thank you guys for helping and sharing your insight with us. And I wanted to thank all of those who attended.